So it's this is a model of a neuron, and we'll start off with the cell body. So underneath all this white stuff here, inside, that's actually considered a cell body. This is the nucleus with the nucleolus, and this red stuff here, all around, these red stuff, little dots everywhere, those are considered the nasal bodies. And the Golgi apparatus is number 17, so the red one here. These are the Golgi apparatus, and the dendrites are here. So these here, these are dendrites, and she doesn't have it labeled, but the axon hillock, this is what she was talking about in class, is located here, and this is also the trigger zone for an action potential. This thing here, so from here, and she has it labeled this here inside, so red thing, it's considered an axon. So it's here, that's an axon, and then this is the Schwann cell here. So it's this entire cell with the nucleus. That's its nucleus there. And the myelin sheath is this here, this. That's the myelin sheath. And the node of Ranvier, it's here. It's essentially the knob that's going to be located between two Schwann cells. Mitochondria, if you look, it's here, and what's covering the axon itself is this tissue layer. It's a connective tissue, endoneurium. And then if you go back up, all these pink ones here, this, and on top of this here, this are referred to as the terminal branches. And if you go back in, these are, remember, the synaptic knobs. So that's the model of a neuron.
How did you know about this?
So this is the same thing. So the cell body of this model here is going to be located inside the cell. So that you see all around the yellow stuff, that's the cell body. And this is the nucleus with nucleolus. And the nasal bodies on this, you can't really see, but I think this is all the blue stuff here. She's calling this nasal bodies. This model doesn't have a label, so it's hard to kind of tell. And this doesn't have any Golgi apparatus that I see on here. So I think she'll use the other model for the Golgi apparatus. These are the dendrites here. This, and the axon hillock. Remember, that's the trigger zone. It's located somewhere in this region here. So don't worry about this muscle stuff here, but it's actually what's located there.
What's this?
And that there is the synaptic knob there. Synaptic knob. And the axon itself is this. And if you go here, axon, there. And then this is the Schwann cell here. If you look with nucleus, the myelin sheath is what's inside here. Here, myelin sheath. Node of Ranvier. Mitochondria there. And then the endoneurium is the connective layer that surrounds a neuron. And the terminal branches are this, and here.
The occipital bone has the occipital condyles and the external occipital protuberance and the foramen magnum and the hypoglossal canal, which can be seen from here too, but we'll flip it.
We'll flip it.
Yeah.
It's these little dots in here.
In the foramen magnum.
And then we had to know something else for it.
I love it.
For in the back.
That's it.
Oh, do you want the what goes through the
Yeah.
things? So through the foramen magnum is a spinal cord and cranial nerve 11. And through the hypoglossal foramen, we have cranial nerve 12.
Okay.
you want to do occipital against, or whatever one I did, so that way we can make sure that the nerves go in? Okay, so the frontal cranial bone has the supraorbital foramen, and the structures that pass through is the supraorbital artery and supraorbital nerve, which is a branch of cranial nerve 1. And then the parietal.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. And then the parietal cranial bone. Okay, and then the temporal cranial bone. And for that, we need to know the mastoid process. We need the styloid process.
Let me take the top off.
So where's the mastoid
The
process?
mastoid process is right here, and the styloid process is right here.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the zygomatic process.
It's right here.
Yes. The external auditory meatus,
It's right here.
and the structure that passes through that is sound. Then we have the stylomastoid foramen,
See the little hole?
Mm-hmm.
which
That's the styloid process.
a branch of cranial nerve 7 leaves through the stylomastoid foramen. And then we have the jugular foramen,
It's the big hole right here.
yeah,
Okay.
Both sides.
and the structure that passes through is the internal jugular vein and cranial nerves 9, 10, 11.
Okay.
And then there is the carotid canal. And the internal carotid arteries go through the carotid canal. And then the foramen lacerum.
Right here. Big one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That is closed with cartilage in living people.
It's closed?
Yes. And then if you flip the other side, we have the internal acoustic meatus.
These.
Mm-hmm. And through the internal acoustic meatus is cranial nerves 7 and 8. And also the temporal bone, petrous part.
Just that bottom there?
Yeah, it's just this area. It's like a fossa, sort of.
Where on this side?
On this side.
Okay.
And also in here you can see the jugular foramen again. And through the jugular foramen.
Where's the jugular foramen?
Right here.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Through the jugular foramen is the internal jugular veins and cranial nerves 9, 10, 11.
Okay.
And also the foramen lacerum goes through as well. Yep. And that is closed with cartilage in living people. And then if you flip it back over,
You're talking about the
mandibular process, the mandibular fossa. And that's it. This is the sphenoid cranial bone. First is the greater and lesser wings. So the greater is what's underneath, And the lesser is what's above?
The greater you can see on the outside right here.
Yep.
Part of the greater wing, just that little, see the whole face right here.
So greater wing on the inside
Greater wing,
and lesser wing.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the Sella tercisa. Sella tercisa.
it's in the middle, right?
Yep.
Yep, right
That's
here.
the
Saddle.
Turkish guy.
The
sitting on
Turkish
the side.
saddle.
Yeehaw.
Okay. And then we have the superior orbital fissure.
This one? Or the up?
They're in the front. This around.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
So superior. is
Orbital
right here.
fissure.
No, 1 second. Hold it there.
Superior.
Superior there. Okay.
And then inferior orbital fissure.
Okay.
You see
Which
the
one is
hole? It's this
Which
hole
hole?
right here.
that? Okay, it's that hole. It's
And
that
this
hole.
hole.
And through the superior orbital fissure are cranial nerves 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And then, let me flip it back around. The foramen ovale.
Oh, right here. It's like
And through the
oval-shaped one.
foramen ovale is the mandibular division of cranial nerve 5.
Okay.
And then we have the foramen rotundum, which is right above that. The foramen rotundum is the maxillary division of cranial nerve 5. And then above that are the optic canals.
It's like right here. In this.
Where?
See it inside kind of the greater wing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the optic canal, and through the optic canal is optic nerve 2. And through the foramen spinosum, which is, where's the ovale there?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's there. That one.
Which one?
This little one next to the foramen ovale.
Yeah, she says through the foramen spinosum is the middle meningeal artery.
Okay, so where's the... So what is it located next to?
Foramen
It is right below the foramen ovale.
Okay.
ovale.
There's that, and there's one on that side. Okay.
Okay. The ethmoid bone. So first is the olfactory foramina in the cribiform plate. And the foramina are just little holes in there. And those contain olfactory nerves, which is cranial nerve 1. And then we have Crystal Galley.
What's that?
It's this protrudence right here. The
In the
crystal.
middle.
Okay.
And then the
Middle nasal?
yeah, the perpendicular it's in the front, right? Yeah, so we can flip around to the front. And we have the middle nasal concha.
Which one's that?
The one on the top, right?
Yep,
The top right?
This top.
top right.
And then left too.
That's the middle concha?
This little one on top.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the perpendicular plate.
Just down the middle. Deviated septum.
And then the inferior nasal concha.
This big one right here.
And we can't see the superior in this view. That's what we have the picture of.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this is the facial bone, mandible.
Mm-hmm.
First is the coronoid process.
Mm-hmm.
Then the mandibular condyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mandibular notch. the alveolar margins.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Oh, my bad.
Teeth.
Alveolar. Yeah,
Good. The mandibular body.
that's this.
Yes. And then the mental foramina. And through the mental foramen is the mental nerve, which is a branch of the inferior alveolar.
Okay.
And then we have the mandibular foramina. Good. And in the mandibular foramen is the inferior alveolar nerve, which is a branch of cranial nerve 3.
Okay. That's it?
We're doing the maxilla facial bone.
Mm-hmm.
First is the palatine process. And then the alveolar margins. And then the infraorbital foramen.
Is it this one?
Yep. And then the incisive fossa.
What is that?
Incisive fossa.
So
Can you see it?
through the incisive
Oh, okay.
fossa,
It's that one little-
incisive, incisive, something like that, is the descending palatine artery and the nasopalatine nerve, which is a branch of the maxillary division of trigem cranial nerve. And then through the infraorbital foramen, so the one in the front. Yeah. So through the infraorbital foramen is the infraorbital nerve, which is a branch of the maxillary division of the trigeminal cranial nerve. And then we have the palatine bone, which is the back part of the hard palate. The zygomatic bone,
I forgot where that is.
blue.
Oh, yeah.
And the zygomatic arch, just that whole thing. So that's the zygomatic part, and then that's the temporal part of the zygomatic arch. And then there's the lacrimal bone.
Is that the lacrimal bone?
Yep.
That's where you cry. Bone or?
Yeah, just a little lacrimal facial bone.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go.
And then is the nasal bone.
Yeah, it's just you get your license. You gotta sit for a board exam, just like
And then there's the vomer.
answer like you gotta do a test, study for it.
What is it?
The vomer, VOMER, which is just inferior to the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone.
It's just the bottom part of the ethmoid bone.
Okay.
And that's it. Okay, so the sutures, so we have the coronal suture, which is between the parietal and frontal cranial bone.
I wanna listen,
And then the sagittal,
but I don't wanna listen.
which is midline
Listen right now.
between the two parietals.
I can rely on, so
And then the lambdoid,
I can get information.
which is between the occipital and parietal. And the squamous, which is between the temporal and parietal. So fetal skull
We're gonna do.
are the fontanelles. So we have the anterior fontanelle, and then the posterior fontanelle, and then the mastoid fontanelle, and the sphenoidal fontanelle, and then the fetal skull bones. We have the frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. And that's it.